If you've been fighting the VA for months or even years, and you feel like nobody believes what you're going through every single day, this video is about to change everything for you, because there is a new VA rule that is forcing raters to treat buddy statements as primary evidence in your claim, and most veterans have absolutely no idea this exists. Stick with me through this entire video because by the end, you're going to know exactly how to use this to win. Let's start with what most veterans get completely wrong about the claims process. When veterans think about evidence, they immediately jump to medical records, nexus letters, and DBQs. Those things absolutely matter, but there's a category of evidence that has been criminally underutilized by veterans for decades, and that's lay evidence, specifically buddy statements. And right now, in 2026, the rules around how the VA must handle this type of evidence have shifted in a way that gives you serious leverage. So, what exactly is a buddy statement? It's a written statement, also called a VA Form 21-4142, or a buddy statement submitted on VA Form 21-1210, where someone who knows you personally describes what they have observed about your condition, your behavior, or your limitations. This person can be your spouse, your parent, your sibling, a fellow veteran who served alongside you, a coworker, a neighbor, a close friend, anyone who has witnessed how your disability impacts your daily life. And here is what most veterans miss. These people do not need medical training to provide powerful, claim-winning evidence. They just need to describe what they see with their own eyes. Now here is where it gets really important. The VA has long had a tendency to brush off lay evidence in favor of clinical findings. Raters would look at a buddy statement, maybe skim it, and essentially set it aside in favor of a C&P exam result. Veterans felt like these statements were disappearing into a black hole. But the rules governing how the VA evaluates evidence have been reinforced and clarified, and raters are now required to actually address lay evidence in their reasoning. They cannot simply ignore it. They must consider it, weigh it, and explain how they dealt with it when making a rating decision. That is a massive shift in how the game is played. Here is why this matters so much psychologically and legally. The VA is supposed to be a non-adversarial system. That means they are theoretically on your side, trying to gather all the evidence needed to decide your claim. But we all know reality can look very different. When a rater is forced to confront a well-written, specific, detailed buddy statement and must acknowledge it in their decision, it creates accountability. It means if they deny your claim and they ignored compelling lay evidence, that becomes grounds for a stronger appeal. You now have documentation that they failed to do their job properly, and that is ammunition. And if you want personalized help understanding your VA benefits, increasing your rating, or avoiding another denial, don't do it alone. Join our private community, Veteran Benefits Blueprint. It's where I break everything down even more step by step, answer questions directly, and give you more knowledge and tools that have helped thousands of veterans get all of the benefits they've earned. The link is in the description box below. I'd love to see you on the inside. Now, let me give you a real-world example of how this plays out. Imagine a veteran claiming PTSD with a rating they believe is too low. Their medical records show a diagnosis, but the C&P examiner only saw them for 45 minutes on a single day. What the examiner did not see was the 3 a.m. panic attacks their spouse witnesses twice a week. The examiner did not see the veteran canceling plans with friends because crowds trigger severe anxiety. The examiner did not see the rage episodes that have strained their marriage. Now, if the spouse writes a detailed buddy statement documenting all of this with specific dates, specific incidents, and specific descriptions of how severe the symptoms are, the rater must now engage with that evidence. They cannot pretend it was never submitted. That statement fills in the gaps that a clinical snapshot simply cannot capture. So, how do you actually write a buddy statement that works? This is where most veterans leave points on the table. A vague, generic statement does almost nothing for your claim. You need specificity. You need structure, and you need it to be written in a way that directly addresses what the VA is looking for. First, the person writing the statement needs to establish their relationship to the veteran and how long they have known them. This gives the statement credibility and context. The rater needs to understand the perspective from which this person is speaking. Second, the statement must describe specific observations, not general feelings. Instead of saying the veteran seems depressed, say the veteran did not leave the house for 11 days, in January 2026, stopped showering for a week, and told me they felt like they had no reason to get up. That level of detail is impossible to dismiss. It paints a picture that a medical record often cannot. Third, the statement should address functional impact. How does this condition affect the veteran's ability to work, maintain relationships, perform daily tasks, or care for themselves? The VA rates based on how a condition affects function, so the evidence you submit should speak directly to function. Fourth, if the buddy statement writer has personal experience that gives them additional credibility, include it. A spouse who is also a nurse and is describing observable symptoms carries added weight. A fellow veteran describing how the service member was injured during a specific incident in theater is providing first-hand corroboration that can establish service connection. Fifth, stay consistent with the veteran's own statements. Inconsistencies between what the veteran says and what their supporter says can actually hurt the claim. The statements should reinforce each other, not contradict each other. And if you want the proven roadmap to maximize your VA benefits, increase your rating, or avoid another denial, join our Veteran Benefits Blueprint private school community. The link is in the description below. Now, here is something the VA absolutely cannot dismiss under the current framework. If a veteran's condition involves symptoms that are not always visible in a clinical setting, lay evidence is sometimes the only way to document the full picture. Things like migraines, chronic pain, mental health symptoms, sleep disturbances, and social or occupational impairment often present differently at home than they do in a doctor's office. The veteran might mask symptoms out of habit, out of pride, or simply because a 45-minute exam does not capture what a spouse sees every single day for years. Buddy statements close that gap. Here is another strategic angle you need to know about. When you submit buddy statements, submit multiple ones from different perspectives. A spouse sees one dimension, a coworker sees another. A fellow veteran who served alongside you sees a completely different aspect of your story. When a rater receives several consistent, detailed statements from multiple independent observers, all describing the same functional limitations and the same severity of symptoms, the cumulative weight of that evidence is dramatically more powerful than any single statement. This is the difference between a piece of evidence and a body of evidence. And here is the part that should light a fire under you right now. Most veterans competing for accurate ratings are not doing this. They submit medical records, maybe they get a nexus letter, they show up to their C&P exam hoping the examiner gives them a fair shake. They leave this entire dimension of evidence completely unused. Meanwhile, the veterans who understand how to leverage buddy statements alongside their medical and professional evidence are building stronger, more complete files that are harder to deny and easier to win on appeal when necessary. One more thing you need to hear: the timing of when you submit buddy statements matters. Ideally, you want them submitted before your C&P exam, or at least before the rating decision is issued. If you submit them after a denial, they can still be used during a supplemental claim or an appeal. But getting them in before the initial decision forces the rater to address them in the original rating rationale. That creates a stronger paper trail from the very beginning. If you have already been denied and you are wondering whether it is too late, the answer is no. A well-constructed buddy statement submitted as new and relevant evidence in a supplemental claim can absolutely reopen your case. The VA must consider it, and if their denial does not address it, that failure is itself evidence of clear and unmistakable error, which strengthens your higher-level review or Board of Veterans Appeals case. And if you want the proven roadmap to maximize your VA benefits, increase your rating, or avoid another denial, join our Veteran Benefits Blueprint private school community. The link is in the description below. Veterans, you have people in your life who have watched you struggle. They have seen what the VA has not seen. They have witnessed the sleepless nights, the canceled plans, the pain you try to hide, the moments when you could barely function. Their words have value. Their observations have legal standing. And right now, under the current rules, those words carry more weight than they ever have before. Stop leaving this evidence off the table. Get your people to write it down. Give them a framework. Submit those statements. Make the VA address them. Make the rater put it in writing, because every statement they ignore becomes a reason your appeal wins. Share this video with every veteran you know who is in the middle of a claim right now. This information is too important to keep to yourself.